The rain was coming down in sheets as I stared out the window of my Seattle apartment, the Space Needle barely visible through the downpour. I am Paxton, 46, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had it all. A loving wife, a comfortable life as a software architect, and a beautiful home in a city I adored. My wife Imogen and I had been together for 15 years, married for 12. We met at a tech conference in San Francisco, and it was love at first sight. Or so I thought. Imogen was a whirlwind of energy, a vibrant and ambitious marketing executive. She was everything I wasn't: outgoing, charismatic, and always the life of the party. I was the quiet, analytical type, content to spend my evenings coding and tinkering with gadgets. We balanced each other out, or at least that's what I told myself. The first crack in our perfect facade appeared subtly. Imogen started working longer hours, often not getting home until late. She blamed it on a new project at work, a high-profile campaign that could make or break her career. I understood. I'd been there myself, burning the midnight oil to meet deadlines. I made her dinner, left it in the fridge with a note, and went to bed, trusting that she'd be home soon. But the late nights became more frequent, and Imogen grew increasingly distant. She was always on her phone, texting furiously, even when we were supposed to be spending quality time together. When I asked her about it, she'd brush it off, saying it was work-related. I wanted to believe her, but a nagging feeling of unease settled in my stomach. One Saturday morning, Imogen told me she had to go into the office for a few hours. I offered to make her breakfast, but she declined, saying she was running late. As she rushed out the door, she gave me a quick peck on the cheek, her eyes avoiding mine. Something felt off. After she left, I tried to distract myself by working on a personal coding project. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I found myself drawn to her laptop, which she'd left open on the kitchen counter. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist. I told myself I was just checking her email for any important messages, but deep down I knew I was looking for something else. I clicked on her email icon, and to my surprise, she was still logged in. My heart pounded in my chest as I scrolled through her inbox. Most of the emails were work-related, but then I saw one with the subject line, "Thinking of you." It was from someone named Gareth. My hands trembled as I clicked on the email. The message was short and sweet, but it was enough to send a chill down my spine. "Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you," it read. "Can't wait to see you later tonight." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My head was spinning and my vision blurred. I read the email again and again, trying to convince myself that I was misinterpreting it. But there was no denying the truth. Imogen was having an affair. Rage and disbelief washed over me in equal measure. How could she do this to me, to us? We had built a life together, a home, a future. How could she throw it all away for some Gareth? I scrolled through more of her emails, each one a dagger to my heart. I discovered that Gareth was a colleague of hers, a slick and charming marketing director who had recently joined the company. They had been seeing each other for months, meeting for secret lunches, late-night drinks, and weekend getaways. The emails were filled with intimate details, confessions of love, and promises of a future together. I felt sick to my stomach. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to break things, to make the pain stop. I closed the laptop and stumbled into the living room, collapsing onto the couch. I stared blankly at the wall, trying to process what I had just learned. My world had been turned upside down in a matter of minutes. I knew I had to confront Imogen, but I didn't know how. I wanted to lash out, to accuse her, to demand answers. But I also wanted to hear her side of the story, to understand why she had done this. I decided to wait for her to come home. I spent the next few hours pacing around the apartment, replaying our entire relationship in my mind. I tried to find clues, red flags that I had missed. Was I too complacent, too focused on my work? Had I somehow driven her into Gareth's arms? As the sun began to set, I heard the key turning in the lock. Imogen walked in, her face flushed and her eyes bright. "Hey, honey," she said, giving me a quick smile. "How was your day?" I stared at her, my heart pounding in my chest. "Wasn't interesting," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I read your emails, Imogen," I said, my voice shaking. "I know about Gareth." Her face paled. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She just stood there, frozen like a deer caught in headlights. "How could you do this to me?" I asked, my voice rising. "To us. I thought we were happy." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Paxton, I don't know what to say. Say something, anything. Tell me why you betrayed me." "It just happened," she said, her voice trembling. "Gareth and ill connected. I know it was wrong, but I couldn't help myself." "You couldn't help yourself," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "So you just decided to throw away our entire marriage because you couldn't control your impulses?" "It's not that simple," she said, her voice rising. "You've been so distant lately. You're always working, always on your computer. You never pay attention to me anymore." "That's not true," I protested. "I've been working hard to provide for us, to give us a good life." "I don't want a good life if it means being alone all the time," she said, her voice cracking. "I need more than just a roof over my head and food on the table. I need attention, affection, love. And you think you're going to find that with Gareth?" I asked, my voice filled with scorn. "He's just using you, Imogen. He's a player. He'll dump you as soon as he gets bored." "You don't know him," she said, her voice defiant. "He cares about me. He makes me feel alive." "Alive," I repeated, my voice incredulous. "So I make you feel dead?" She didn't answer. She just stood there, her eyes filled with tears. I couldn't stand to look at her anymore. I turned and walked out of the apartment, slamming the door behind me. I spent the night at a friend's house, trying to make sense of what had happened. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation with Imogen in my mind, searching for answers, for some explanation that would make it all make sense. The next morning, I went back to the apartment to pack my things. Imogen was there waiting for me. She looked tired and defeated. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice cold. "I can't stay here anymore. I can't be with someone who betrayed me so easily." "Please, Paxton, don't do this," she said, her voice cracking. "I am sorry. I made a mistake. I promise it won't happen again." "It's too late, Imogen," I said, shaking my head. "You broke my trust. I don't think I can ever forgive you." I packed a suitcase with my clothes and personal belongings. As I was leaving, Imogen grabbed my arm. "What about us?" she asked, her eyes pleading. "What about our future?" "There is no us anymore, Imogen," I said, my voice filled with sadness. "You destroyed it." I pulled away from her and walked out the door, leaving her standing there alone. Over the next few weeks, I moved into a small apartment downtown and started the process of filing for divorce. It was a painful and difficult time, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I couldn't stay in a relationship built on lies and betrayal. As I began to rebuild my life, I started to hear rumors about Imogen and Gareth. Apparently, their affair had become public knowledge at work, and they were both facing consequences. Gareth was fired for violating the company's code of conduct, and Imogen was demoted and ostracized by her colleagues. I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that they were both suffering the consequences of their actions, but it didn't bring me any joy. It didn't erase the pain and betrayal that I had experienced. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello," I said. "Paxton, it's Gwyneth," the voice on the other end said. "Gareth's wife." I was surprised to hear from her. I had met her briefly at a company event a few years ago, but we had never spoken since. "Gwyneth, how are you?" I asked, my voice cautious. "Not good," she said, her voice trembling. "I just wanted to apologize for what Gareth did to you and Imogen. I had no idea he was capable of such a thing." "I appreciate that, Gwyneth," I said, feeling a pang of sympathy for her. "It must have been difficult for you as well." "It was," she said, her voice cracking. "He destroyed our marriage, our family. I don't know how I'm going to pick up the pieces." We talked for a while longer, sharing our experiences and offering each other support. I found myself drawn to her vulnerability and honesty. We agreed to stay in touch. Over the next few months, Gwyneth and I became close friends. We would meet for coffee, go for walks, and talk on the phone for hours. We discovered that we had a lot in common, including a shared love of books, movies, and hiking. As we spent more time together, I started to develop feelings for her. I knew it was complicated, given our shared history with Gareth and Imogen, but I couldn't deny the connection that we had. One evening, after a particularly long and heartfelt conversation, I decided to take a leap of faith. "Gwyneth," I said, my voice nervous. I have feelings for you. I know it's crazy given everything that's happened, but I can't help the way I feel." She looked at me, her eyes filled with surprise and emotion. "Paxton," she said, her voice soft. "I have feelings for you too. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to complicate things." We kissed, and it was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt a sense of hope and happiness that I hadn't felt in a long time. Gwyneth and I started dating, and our relationship grew stronger with each passing day. We found solace and healing in each other's company. We understood each other's pain and helped each other to move on from the past. One day, I received a letter from Imogen. I hesitated before opening it, unsure of what to expect. Inside, she wrote about how sorry she was for hurting me. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake and that she regretted her actions every day. She said that she had lost everything: her job, her friends, and me. She ended the letter by wishing me happiness and hoping that I could find it in my heart to forgive her. I read the letter with mixed emotions. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but I also knew that I could never forget what she had done. I decided to write her back, telling her that I forgave her but that I couldn't be friends with her. I wished her well and hoped that she could find peace in her life. As I sealed the letter, I realized that I had finally moved on from the past. I had found love and happiness with Gwyneth, and I was grateful for the second chance that life had given me. Looking back, I realized that Imogen's betrayal had been a painful but necessary catalyst for change in my life. It had forced me to reevaluate my priorities, to let go of the past, and to open myself up to new possibilities. And in the end, it had led me to find true love with someone who understood and appreciated me for who I was. The rain had stopped, and the sun was shining brightly over Seattle. I smiled, knowing that even after the darkest storms, there is always hope for a brighter tomorrow.